What's up, my friends? It is Mr. Gallows, of course, and welcome back to another reaction video for Star Wars Celebration 2019. Well, guys, Star Wars Celebration is over. I mean, I can hear the groans from here. I know. I can't believe it's over already, but yes, the last day was yesterday. And you know, Star Wars Celebration 2019 had some fantastic moments, but it also had a lot of not-so-fantastic moments, and that's what me and Mr. Headless Battle Droid are here to talk to you guys about today. Oh, and by the way, if you love this little dude right here, you can totally get him as a t-shirt. What? I'm doing some promotion for myself. Taking a page out of Disney's playbook. Oh! Alright guys, so for today's video, we're gonna tear Star Wars Celebration 2019 apart! We're gonna tear it apart! No guys, seriously, there are some points that I did want to make about Star Wars Celebration that I thought weren't great, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like I wanted to sit down and discuss some aspects of Star Wars Celebration that were really dull, that were really lackluster, that were kind of shocking at moments, and I felt that, you know, maybe I wanted to reach a little wider audience because I know you guys out there probably feel the same as I do, at least about some of these aspects. And I would say, first of all, right off the bat, I don't know if you guys remember Star Wars Celebration 2016 over in Europe, but it's kind of famous in the fan base right now, especially over current years, as being like the worst Star Wars celebration. Or not, you know, worst is the wrong word. It was just like a really uneventful celebration. If you guys recall, there were a lot of American fans who were really upset about paying a lot of money for plane tickets to go all the way over to Europe, and there's basically nothing to see. This Star Wars Celebration kind of reminded me of Europe a little bit. Not in the aspect that, you know, there wasn't a lot to see, because there was, you know, 4 great trailers. But it was just that, like, everything else in between felt kind of lackluster. So the very first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today, I guess we'll call it number 1. Boom! Number 1 is lack of celebrities. Yeah, I mean, I just thought there was a real absence of celebrities from this year's celebration. I mean, especially compare it to 2017. And I know it was the 40th anniversary, so there's supposed to be a lot of celebrities there, but didn't they have, you know, I guess you could say they had a lot to live up to for 2019 after 2017, and it just felt like there was a real lack of celebrity presence there. I mean, 2017, they were bringing everybody out, right? But this year, you know, they brought everybody out from the episode 9 panel for one day in the morning, and then it was like everybody disappeared. They all just left after the first day, and there was no attention paid to episode 9. No Adam Driver at the panel, no Mark Hamill at the panel, no Mark Hamill at Celebration. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was like everyone was there for a minute discussing episode 9, and then it was Celebration stopped talking about it, and then all of the YouTube channels started talking about it. But then there was like this real lack of presence for episode 9 because everybody just kind of disappeared, and then they didn't reappear. None of them reappeared throughout Celebration, so it was kind of strange. And aside from that, the only interviews we got in the segments in between panels were all like voice actors and Resistance cast members, and I thought that that was actually very strange. That there was one day, I think it was like day 2 or day 3, I think it was day 2, where they brought like 4 or 5 different Resistance cast members out for interviews, and I kept thinking to myself, you know, man, you know, like 20% of the fan base watches Star Wars Resistance, and the other 10% hate it. So why do you keep bringing Resistance cast members out for interviews? Like, nobody really wants to talk to these people. It's like it was all the wrong people most of the time that they were bringing out for interviews. And also, no Han Solo presence. I thought that, you know, again, you know, we're discussing lack of celebrities here. Where is somebody from the Han Solo movie? I'll take anybody. I'll take Thandie Newton. Anybody, right? Give me somebody from the Han Solo movie. Nobody was talking about the Han Solo movie, right? Which was really strange. So yeah, lack of celebrity presence, I think, was definitely a big deal here. Now, the second thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, number 2, and it's a big one, is that there was no Mark Hamill panel. Again, I just mentioned this before. Mark Hamill was completely absent from Star Wars Celebration, and we didn't find out basically until the first day of Star Wars Celebration that he was going to be absent. And I mean, this is a huge deal. Mark Hamill is like one of the, if not the highlight of Star Wars Celebration. Half the reason some people go to Star Wars Celebration is to come to Mark Hamill's panel. And he wasn't even there. He didn't even show up for the episode 9 panel. And I heard, you know, a lot of people saying that JJ apparently didn't want him there because episode 9 is under such lock and key that they didn't even want him there for a panel. But I'm sorry, like, I just don't believe that. That doesn't make any sense. He is always there for Star Wars Celebration. Always. Always there for Star Wars Celebration. And to have him absent, I mean, it put this whole dull overcast over the entire celebration. Like, this was the last thing that people were expecting, was Mark Hamill not to be there. So that was really, really disappointing for me. That Mark Hamill's absence was a severely disappointing aspect, and I'm sure all of you guys noticed that absence tenfold. It was kind of unbelievable. Another aspect that I had a big problem with personally, I don't know about you guys, but I personally had a big problem with it, is that there was no shots of the crowd. Now, during 2017 celebration, they had a specific camera with a crane camera, to go over and get these shots of the crowd, sometimes for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They would leave the camera on the crowd. There were no shots of the crowd during this year's celebration. I mean, yeah, there were shots of the crowd, but for 5 seconds. And then they would go to commercial. And I thought that was just bizarre. I mean, guys, part of the reason that people watch the live stream is to be immersed in Star Wars Celebration. We can't do that without shots of the crowd. I didn't get to see anybody's cosplay. I didn't get to see anybody's funny reactions to things, aside from like these 3 to 5 second shots. And I thought that was really strange. I thought that was something that they would have understood about 2017 Celebration. Like, yeah, these shots of the crowd are really important. We need to make sure that we're getting these shots of the crowd in there because it's an immersive experience for people on the live stream. And the strangest thing, too, aside from that, is that every time they would cut away from the crowd, they would go to a commercial that they showed like 100 times. And I kept thinking to myself, like, guys, this isn't an IGN live stream. This isn't a Nintendo live stream. This isn't a gaming event. You don't cut away to commercial every time you guys have dead space. Anytime you guys have dead space, you fill it with shots of the crowd so that people on the live stream can see everybody at Celebration. So that was a very, very odd aspect, I thought, and hopefully it's something that they can fix next year, because this is something that they need to realize, that it's all about that immersive experience. So I really hope they realize that next year. At number 4 on today's countdown. Yeah, guys, at number 4, I have, and this is pertaining to number 3, actually, going back to the live stream. The live stream itself is still messed up. And they've had 2 years to prepare, and they're still having the exact same problems that they had last year. I mean, I remember that during the Lego panel, they didn't show the screen for a segment because I think they didn't have a camera set up again. The exact same thing happened last year during one of the panels. They didn't have a camera set up to shoot one of the screens. And then I remember during the Vadal Immortal panel, the first time they showed the trailer, it didn't show on the live stream at all, so thank goodness they showed it a second time because people watching the live stream wouldn't have even seen it. It didn't even play the first time. And also, the biggest issue, and I noticed this from day one right off the bat, and I even saw other people commenting about this too on YouTube, the audio was way too low. I don't know what was going on. I had my TV cranked up almost all the way, and it was still like really, really quiet. All the voices were really, really quiet. And I couldn't help but thinking to myself, is anybody monitoring the live stream? They have to have somebody that's monitoring these live streams, making sure that the audio is okay, making sure that they have cameras set up to show the screens. Again, they had 2 years to prepare for this next live stream, and they're having the exact same issues that they had in 2017. And, it makes me feel bad. As a live streamer, like a person who's a fan of watching the live stream, it makes me feel really bad because it's like is anybody caring about our experience? Because you shouldn't be running into these same exact problems. I mean, we're almost in 2020 here, guys. We need to get a handle on our live streams at some point to making sure that there aren't any screw-ups. Just like 2017, I don't know if you guys remember, the live stream started screwing up during John Williams' performance. Right in the middle of his performance, the live stream started scrambling and screwing up. I mean, this is unacceptable. Like, you guys can't be making these simple little mistakes. This is simple common sense stuff, and I really hope they fix it for next year's celebration. Now, number 5 on my list is probably going to be a little bit controversial to most fans out there because it's kind of what Celebration is. So a lot of people are probably going to consider this, a little bit nitpicky, but I just had to mention it. Number 5 is stop selling us stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the worst was that Coke, and I already talked about this, the Coca-Cola commercial during the middle of a panel and then the product placement. That was the worst. But aside from that, Star Wars Celebration is becoming less about the films and the aesthetic of the films and more about like selling us stuff, like selling us anything they've got. That's the problem, is that everything is for sale. Mark Hamill had mentioned that he thinks that Star Wars fans are going through a bit of a fatigue right now. It's not that it's necessarily Star Wars fatigue. It's that Star Wars is becoming too commercialized. Everything is for sale. It's like every 5 minutes they've got something for sale. And it's not just, toys, because I don't have a problem with toys and stuff like that, and even merchandise like t-shirts, keychains and all the little gadgets and stuff like that they have for sale. That's not what I have a problem with. It's when they're trying to sell us watches and socks and shoes. It's like, you don't need to do a segment about this on the live stream. This is a waste of time. I mean, they didn't show the cosplay competition. I mean, I should have made that a separate number, now that I think about it. They didn't show the cosplay competition. Did you guys not have enough time for that? Was there too much product placement you guys had to do so you couldn't show the cosplay competition? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's it's ridiculous. I do not want to see watches and shoes and socks for sale. This is not necessary content that you have to have during a panel. And that's what I'm talking about. It's becoming less about the films and becoming more about, oh, look at all the stuff we have for sale. And again, I know this is what Star Wars Celebration is about. I get it. Part of Star Wars Celebration is always the toys, it's always the merchandise. I love the toys myself, I love the merchandise myself. But my goodness, it's around every corner, they're trying to sell you something. It's like half Star Wars Celebration and half Home Shopping Network. You know what I'm saying? It's like they have to fix the aesthetic of how they're running the show because it's coming across as a Home Shopping Network. We want more of a focus on the films. And aside from that, this is the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. How much Phantom Menace merchandise did you guys see during those segments? I can't remember a single piece, besides maybe something that Anthony Carboni was wearing during one segment. This is the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. Where's all the Phantom Menace merchandise? You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's how you know that they're just trying to get this stuff up on stage. It doesn't necessarily matter what it is. They're just trying to get it up on stage so that they can put it in front of you. And it was strange that there was no focus on Phantom Menace merchandise. Kind of really, really strange for that. There were no special interviews, touching on the Phantom Menace still, there were no special interviews with Ray Park, he didn't come out on the stage and do any special interviews. And it's like how are general fans supposed to know that it's the 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace? If you're just a super general fan of Star Wars, how would you know that it's the 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace? You know what I'm saying? It's like they didn't really, there's no focus on it. There's barely any focus on it. One panel at the end of the day on day 4. Yeah, kind of odd. And you know what? I'm gonna make a number 6. I'm gonna make a number 6 for my countdown real quick, just because of that thought I had right there about the Phantom Menace. Number 6 is the Phantom Menace was an afterthought. It really was. And the reason that this is so important, and maybe a lot of you, especially the younger fans out there, don't realize this, the Phantom Menace is the reason that we have Star Wars Celebration. The Phantom Menace started Star Wars Celebration. It was George's decision to make the prequels. And then, hearing that he was making Episode 1, it was coming back, that's what sparked Anthony Daniels and all the producers that set it up to begin to manifest Star Wars Celebration. And it feels like during the entire 4 days of the live stream, the Phantom Menace was kind of an afterthought. Again, we had 1 hour-long panel during the last day of Star Wars Celebration. During the last day, I guarantee, 25% of the fans must be gone already. Why would you have the Phantom Menace celebration during the last day? It should have been on Saturday or Friday or something. It should have been one of the first things that they did. I mean, it was a great panel. It was great to see everyone there. But even the panel was kind of dull because, Warwick Davis obviously hadn't prepared for it, or it seemed like he hadn't prepared for it because he was very, robotically reading his cue cards without much enthusiasm or interest. We had a boring interview with Ray Park, a boring interview with Ian McDiarmid, and it was again, lackluster. It was just everything was lackluster, and then the panel was over and everybody went home, and it was the end of Star Wars Celebration because it was the last day. You know what I'm saying? So it was almost as if the Phantom Menace was an afterthought. And also, one other point I wanted to mention too is that I thought it was very interesting that the transition animations in between everything was Chewbacca. Chewbacca wasn't in episode 1. You know what I'm saying? It's like you guys couldn't even make the transition animes like Darth Maul or a battle droid. Again, maybe this is me just being really nitpicky. Maybe they were trying to celebrate the Han Solo movie. I don't know, but again, it just feels like the Phantom Menace was kind of an afterthought. And not just the Phantom Menace, but it feels like Star Wars Celebration itself was just kind of like thrown together. Again, they had 2 years. 2 years. Why didn't you guys utilize the entire 2 years to set this celebration up? Because it felt thrown together. It felt like, okay, like who can we get? Like, the celebration is in 2 weeks. Like, who's available for interviews? Okay, Anthony Daniels and Ray Park, of course. We got Ian McDiarmid. Okay, and now we're gonna bring that giant TIE fighter. Okay, get these guys from the Imperial Dogs, and okay, we got this. Okay, and they just kind of threw it together, and here we are at Star Wars Celebration, and it zipped by, and now it's over. You know what I'm saying? And it just feels like, and I want to make this point, I'm not trying to attack the celebration. I know I probably sound like an angry fanboy right now, but it's not an attack on Celebration. I wanted to make this video as kind of like, if other people were feeling the same way, I wanted to give them a voice. And I also wanted to just give some constructive criticism. That's honestly what this is. It's constructive criticism that I'm giving to, whoever set up the live stream and really whoever set up Celebration. These are the things that I thought were wrong with Celebration. These are the things that frustrated me personally. So maybe you guys should focus on trying to fix some of those things because they are pretty big issues. This is Star Wars Celebration. It only happens once a year. And again, a huge shout out to Disney. I have the one thing I do have the utmost respect for when it comes to Disney is yes, they put on these beautiful celebrations every year. A lot of respect to Disney. Thank you, Disney, so much for putting on these celebrations. It's awesome that you guys do this. It's a great experience for the fans, right? But you guys can always improve. And another reason why I felt like it was I should make this video is because I thought you guys did improve. I thought you guys hit your pinnacle in 2017. And now all of a sudden for 2019, it's like they kind of like took a step back. They took a couple of steps back, and I'm saying these are the steps that you guys need to reclaim to make sure that Star Wars Celebration is not just great every year, but it's fantastic. It's the best that it can be every year because that's what the fans deserve. Alright my friends, well that's going to do it for this Angry Fanboy Star Wars Celebration 2019 reaction video. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and please leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the Great White Void. Did you guys feel the same way? Did you guys feel that Star Wars Celebration 2019 was lackluster? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave all your thoughts and opinions down below in the Great White Void. And yes, in case any of you guys are worried out there, I will be making a 5 things that I really, really enjoyed about Star Wars Celebration 2019. That'll be coming up next week for sure. I want to put some good notes together for that, so look forward to that as well. It's time for me to get out of here, get on with my day. You guys do the same. As always, until next we meet, may the Force be with all of you, and stay in that galaxy far, far away.